Muffin Top Tuesday chat. How y'all doing? Let's start this off right with this.
Faith in the sunrise and sunset skies, family ties that never compromise. With tools in hand and steel that shines, we'll hold the fort through troubled times. Build your tribe and survive the night, with hearts of gold and spirits bright. And every time we'll plant the seed to grow alive with all we need. With trust and open hearts, and these strongholds we play our parts. Firearms for the peace we keep, while standing guard and feeling deep. Build your tribe and survive the night, with hearts of gold and spirits bright. And every time we'll plant the seed to grow alive with all we need. All trust and open hearts, in these strongholds we play our parts. Firearms for the peace we keep, while standing guard and feeling deep. Build your tribe and survive the night, with hearts of gold and spirits bright. And every time we'll plant the seed to grow alive with all we need.
That's good. That's a good song. How y'all doing this evening?
Hello, hello.
Hey. We're joined with DJ, the Metalhead Mercenary, owner and founder of some badass camo.
Hell yeah.
Or some shit like that. I don't know. Officially.
Yeah. Fractal Spectral Camouflage Systems. Yes, sir.
Heck yeah. I think we have their website.
Yep. Yeah, I made sure to buy the domain, the straight domain, and URL, and have an Instagram for the brand and all that too. And yeah,
Oh, nice. You could drop that anytime. Yeah, we actually spent an evening.
I got it.
With thank you, Awfully. With Backwoods and a couple other guys, and we were checking out your camos.
nice.
And I was like, man, I need this one and this one and this one. So
Well,
pretty dope.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's there's been a lot of voicing. Very people have been very vocal across various kind of communities and stuff. The general civilian consumer community, the gun tuber and prepper communities, and a number of other ones that they wanted some more options for camouflages, and I was like, I've been working on something, so I can do that. And I spent the last almost 3.5 years quietly doing a number of things, to include environmental studies and things like that, and then using my graphic design skills, kind of developing the patterns. So I have a line of 10 patterns to start with, and the website just launched back in February, March. So it's only been up for just a little while now.
Oh yeah, I like it. I'm actually scrolling it in the background if you hadn't noticed.
I see that.
But yeah, I like how you have like a regional zone of like what camo covers. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it's because I did a lot of environmental study, but also some patterns they have multiple applications as far as environment and terrain and everything. But
I like.
But yeah, just the autumn pattern, the A pattern.
Yeah, that'd fit most of my stuff. Either that or this one right here.
The leaf litter, the April Florida pattern is definitely a popular one, apart from the standard woodland W pattern, and so that one on the right there, the bottom right, that woodland, the W typical, and then to the left of that is RW Rocky Woodland.
Yeah, I like all that.
Yeah, so it's and then obviously desert, and then the one that's more tan with the greens in it, that's your plains and scrub.
Oh, right.
my buddy that's from the Dakotas is like, dude, that would work perfect out here. And then my buddies in West Texas are like, that will work perfect out here. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm going for.
I want to
You
snag one of these freaking this
know,
white camo poncho, bro, for hunting. That'd be badass.
yeah, it would be cool. I can get material printed. So so the way the brand is structured, I'm not doing any production and retail myself. It's all IP licensing and brand licensing for production and retail with gear companies and stuff. I've had Citadel Defense and some other companies hit me up and be like, "Hey, I want to make stuff with your patterns." So right now, I'm just trying to find the right textile sourcing and printing domestically here in the states to make sure that they can get a hold of yardage, so that they can make gear and everything and start putting it onto the market. And then we have that licensing agreement and stuff. So it's like, okay, use the logistics in place. Companies do this, this, and this. These companies do this. I do the licensing, and then go from there. And it's exactly how Multicam or Cryptech or Prim One or any of them do it too. So um, it's just finding the right sourcing right now. That's one of the hardest parts of this whole process, especially with a new business and like the
Oh shit, we got modern.
quote unquote new
Yeah.
kid on the quote unquote new kid on the block to get the products out there. So that's the biggest one right now. I'm talking to a couple of companies right now. I did some test print, as you saw on the website. I had some test print for 1.9 ounce Sil Poly for poncho mock-ups. They turned out okay. The RW pattern turned out way better than the A pattern. And it's just the way their printers are configured and which RGB color profile they use, and that's all like design, graphic design, and production nuance stuff and everything. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, it turned out okay. It's just I need to find a company because that company that I went through didn't have typical Nyko ripstop or standard denier nylons for soft goods and uniforms that are industry standard for the market. So I have to try and find another one. That company may. I'm trying to press them a little bit, but they may do a business to business licensing agreement to print for the materials they do provide, for ponchos and stuff. But as of right now, they haven't. So
Have you looked at anybody to do like the like wraps for like holsters or anything like that? Because that's like super popular right now. And I know
right,
C&T Designs is getting his gun shop up and running. Him and his wife. C&T and Modern. I dropped the Rumble link if you guys want to hop in, bros.
right,
Robert Ham, glad to hear your wife's doing better, dude. Congrats. Prayers have been working. God's good.
yeah.
I was going to say now's a good time to do roll call. Give
Yeah,
everybody a call.
I'm getting like behind on the chat. I was like, oh shit.
Don't
Fiend Dog first in the chat with C&T Arms. What's up, brother? That's me. Lawfully Armed. Old Man Butt Wrinkles. What up? Robert Ham. Let me see. Fiend Dog again. We got Modern. Lawfully. Looking cute.
didn't know you had me on
I got
stage.
my own thing. That's what you want, man. C&T Designs. Yeah. I caught that one. Whoops. I'm retarded. That's good. Heck yeah, man. Sassy, how you doing? Everybody, welcome. We got DJ the Metalhead Mercenary in the house. I do want to do a little announcement here. I am working with both the Modern Frontiersmen, and this is the... I dropped it in my Discord for all the people that are in Discord. You get to see it first. I'm working with Modern Frontiersman, code t.m.t. All your leatherwork needs. I actually talked to him. He's making a new sheath for a knife that I think the prepping / hunting / camping community will die for, because I haven't seen a cool one that's horizontal. And you guys know Muffin Top's fat, so I like to carry horizontal blades. And this guy makes awesome freaking sheaths, holsters, belts, all kinds of shit. If you can think it, he could probably make it. Just give him a minute. But yeah, Modern Frontiersman, and his leatherworking is pretty sexy. So if you guys haven't checked that out, code TMT, get you a discount over there. And it helps out a small business and a prepping friend. So we like that. And I'm also working with Jay. Prepared Citizens. I've been slinging Slishmans unprofessionally for a minute, so code Red Chungus gets you 10% off over there. So
Red Chungus.
hell yeah, dude! You've heard the Chungus story, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So two really good companies, two good small companies, bros in the prepping community. Hopefully, we can work with DJ and he'll hook us up with something eventually when I don't suck enough. But no, it's awesome, man, that people are launching all their businesses and stuff. So I'm not, but I am doing other things in life, so that's okay. I got bros like this that got good gear, so I don't have to deal with that headache. I just buy what I need. Thank you,
Right.
the internet.
Right. But yeah, to answer your question there, just prior to roll call. So for holster wrap and things like that, yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at too many of those because I am focusing on getting textiles out because there's already companies that make gear, chest rigs, and everything else that have requested to partner with me for licensing and stuff to make gear. So I'm focusing on that. But with wraps and stuff, like if there's a good company out there, send the recommendations my way because I'll hit them up.
Shit,
I'm also talking to, or I'm trying to get a hold of a guy over at ADM Arms because that's a local firearm company to me, and
oh, that's my link. I'm retarded. I'm sorry.
the company that they work with that's also in my state for their Cerakotes and everything and hydro dips and stuff. I'm trying to get in contact with them for putting the patterns into that option as well for parts. You know, um, yeah. So just trying to get the stuff all over the market wherever I can. So, but the biggest hurdle right now is just finding the right textile partner for sourcing and digital print.
Right. Apparently, I messed up the code. I'm retarded. My bad, guys. Don't look at that one.
Uh,
Code t.m.t at Modern is the discount code. Whoopsies. That's all right.
Well, DJ, I absolutely love the Frac T
Thank
rough
you.
woodland. Like I love the rough woodland. Even on the sample swatch
Yeah.
with the lower resolution, I still think that looks great.
Yeah, it printed out okay. The one company I went to for the test yardage, they wanted 150 DPI, which is that's within an industry kind of bracket of standard
Yeah.
of resolution, but it's on the lower end. I prefer to do everything 300 DPI, so super high quality, but that's what their printers wanted. So that one printed out a lot nicer than the A pattern did, so I'm not mad about it. The first round of going out and doing like promo photos with the ponchos and stuff. Hey, it's a poncho, so it's got a little shine to it, but still trying to other fabric sourcing right now. But it was blending pretty good. I'm waiting. I need to hit some other spots, and now that spring is really more into full swing here and slowly creeping into summer, everything's greened out more, so I'm able to get some really good promo shots. So I got a couple more rounds of that stuff I'm going to be doing before I mail out the prototype or promotional ponchos out to people to do some stuff in their areas, in other parts of the country for, whatever uses, camo tests, just promo photos in their regions, things like that, to continually do analysis and testing and everything else. I mean, that never ends with a company and stuff. So, so that'll be a continual thing and kind of rotating the promotionals around for people to toy with and things like that. And whenever I do get gear and uniforms made up, obviously I'll be sending a set out to like Brent 0331, for
Yeah.
big exposure camo test videos and stuff, and then some other people too. And
Grunt proof.
Yep, Randall. And again, a number of companies, smaller, small businesses here in the U.S. Citadel Defense, Gray Squirrel Solutions, Bug Out Bushido is starting a company. I think Jay Prepared Citizens because he makes like pouches for TQs and stuff. Even Fatty Westside, like a bunch of people that buy yardage and make gear are asking for it. So it's like, okay, I gotta really press on some of the material sourcers and printers to try
Get some
and get
stuff out, right?
some partnership going. Yeah. And and then they'll all start making gear, and then it'll be out on the market. So it's just that's the biggest part of the process. So
Heck yeah, man. I'm excited about it. I think it looks freaking killer, dude.
yeah, thank
So
you. Yeah,
So with that,
no, go ahead.
so without asking you trade secrets, how you do it, but unlike some of the other established brands,
Uh-huh.
Cryptic, you managed to not just do one pattern, if you will.
Yeah,
Like you didn't just make plaid and then change the color of the plaid. Like the
right.
pattern itself evolves for the different terrains.
Yep. Yep.
So could you kind of, without giving the secret sauce away, can you explain the process or the inspiration for that?
Yeah, sure. So they're all similar in that sense. They all vary a little bit just because of the design process and the tools that I use and the programs and everything to design the patterns. Um, they all have a similar template, and the actual swatch of the template that would be printed on a material, the full thing before it would repeat, is larger, more of a German style of pattern in that sense. That it covers a larger swatch, a larger portion of yardage before the pattern starts to repeat. And
Right.
when zoomed out, when you look at the swatch, it the name of the company, Fractal Spectral Camouflage Systems, it kind of looks like a fractal pattern with a little more randomization to it, and then the naturalization of colors. With the scaling of the pattern, and this is one of the benefits and selling points of my patterns. A lot of your, whether it's Flectarn, whether it's like other fractal patterns like Dutch NFP, or even looking at other patterns like Russian EMR and some of those, the scaling of the pattern itself, it's small. That works well for intermediate to close range blending, but when you're further away, it creates a blob out. You get a full silhouette profiling that happens a lot more with smaller scale patterns compared to, say, M81 US Woodland, Rhodesian Brushstroke, DPM, that are a larger scale swatch or a larger scale pattern on the swatch. So I kind of took principles from US and European camouflages, just being a bit of a camo nerd anyway, and doing that due diligence and research to design the patterns in such a way that the scaling is better. And you see it with the test material and stuff. The pattern scale is larger than your typical European scale, a little more akin to US scales, but with a design aesthetic that's a little bit more European in some ways, because there's definitely influence from old World War II German P dot and Russian partisan, and even Flecktarn a little bit, and Tropentarn and some of those. Um,
Mhm.
but also, again, the scaling is more American to my preference and influence with that, and then the color choices as well. Um, Spend a lot of time figuring out the best colors that would better blend to a range of environments, based on where the pattern is kind of designed for, or any cross compatibility and things like that. And that's kind of the problem I have with like Cryptech and Multicam and all that. Like, mad props and respect to those companies doing what they've done and putting it out there and having that longevity to it and everything. But at the same time, there's no such thing as a universal pattern. So
Yeah, that's just kind of copy paste with different color design.
yeah, exactly. So, and I didn't want to do that, so I did randomize the design of the pattern to each type, to each category of pattern. So, um, whether it's the primary color focus, on top of that and things like that. So that really helps to promote the blending capability into your natural environment. Apart from the design itself is more naturalized. Um, you don't have a lot of unnatural human-made curves and things like that in the patterns, as you can see. So that helps confuse the eye and helps the eye not catch it as quickly. Apart from the color choices, so that's one of those other things too. Multicam, like in my area in the North Midwest, the Great Lakes region, and everything, it's too bright. It does not work majority of the year. Um, if you're gonna use multicam up here or OCP, you got to throw darker green rattle can all over it in order for it to even blend to a more effective level. And I mean, you can do that. That's a fairly low cost DIY way to do it. Um, but at the same time, I'm like, look, I can design something better that's going to fit not just my region, but other regions as well, as far as a standard woodland pattern, and then your woodland variants, whether it's the HW, the heavy woodland for, say, the Cascades, or just dense forest like up here as well, and then the RW, the Rocky Woodland for the Ozarks, Appalachia, intermediates, and that transition of terrain types and things like that. So that's a lot of like the points that I kind of put into it with just doing the design in general, kind of getting back to the point there. Um, and
Man, I think it'd be dope if you could get with like Coyote Works or somebody like that, or your favorite. Put your chest rig company in here,
Yeah,
and they adopt the camo and take off with it, dude. That'd be dope.
yeah, that'd be great. I'm not all that familiar with Coyote Works. I'll have to talk to them.
He's talking about Coyote 6 that runs.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
I'm retarded.
Lynchman.
Yeah, the Nizumi. Like if
Yeah,
you guys got like a collab chest rig on going, that'd be
yeah,
fucking sweet.
Lynchpin Supply. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love Coyote. He's awesome. He's a
yeah, he's
homie.
good.
Sure. You're wanting
I
to keep
think
everything very compliant.
yeah, that's the thing is sourcing, printing and sourcing. Because I know. And the dude he has doing it does an excellent job. I like the Nizumi rigs. I've got one that he sent me that I then winterized, turned into a snow camo
Yeah,
pattern
in the
rig.
bathtub. Oh
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah,
My
I remember
ad
that.
hoc paint booth. Yeah,
Honestly, if I hop on the treadmill, that's the rig I grab just because it's just more weight. Like I
yeah,
don't I don't really
yeah,
fill my GP pouches with too much other than like some water and some medical, but like
yeah,
just the 12 mags is like a good little workout.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, it's fantastic for that, and they're well made. He has them made in South Korea. Um, but yeah, my focus, I want to support US businesses and strengthen our domestic economy, which apart from the big players like multicam or whatever, or your GS contractors make OCP for the military and stuff. And I know and have talked to the people over at Massif, which is a major supplier to the military as well. They do a lot of FR stuff, but they also do a lot of the cold weather stuff and things like that, uniform provision and stuff to the military. And I've talked to them, in the past and stuff. And but yeah, I really want to focus on strengthening and supporting and working with U.S. businesses, large and small, to just strengthen our domestic capabilities, and to make it a win-win for everyone. Everybody can provide products to the market, and then it's a win-win. And that's the main focus. I'm definitely very much America first in that regard with business practice. I really don't want to work with any TA production, the transatlantic or overseas production. Besides like Puerto Rico, they're U.S. territory, and there is some of our textile logistics are in Puerto Rico. That's fine. But whether it's Mexico, obviously China, Vietnam or whatever, I don't want to work with them because it's far too easy. There's no guarantee of protection for IP, for intellectual property in the patterns, and materials and stuff. I mean, it's very easy, and it happens all the time for stuff to quote unquote fall off the back of the truck, or in China's case, they just steal it and they just send it to whoever to print stuff to sell on Temu, you know.
Damn Tinu.
Yeah, or
Say you
Alibaba.
don't want Winnie the Pooh to rip you off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I don't want to work with overseas logistics. While that's very prevalent for the industry, if I can keep it somewhat comparable to Berry compliance without it necessarily being just utilizing and working with domestic producers, I'm going to, and I'm going to support small businesses like my own. Again, whether it's Citadel, Lynchpin, whoever, that's who I want to work with. Yeah, and the TQ pouch mock-ups that you saw kind of up there, Boga Bushido made those.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
Nice.
the FL pattern he and I collaborated on, and did an initial like just rough test print. Obviously, the swatches you see there with the testing and the foliage, that's down in Florida, and it works perfectly. It's a little smaller scale, though. It needs to be scaled up a little bit, but that's just, he just did a quick print, and then he made mock-ups of those pouches.
Right.
But
Mhm.
you look at them, it's perfect.
See,
You know,
here's my environment. This left here with the cornfield and the green trees behind it.
yeah, right. You know,
That's Nebraska.
yeah, right. So the PS pattern, the A pattern, even the FL pattern, the standard W
Hold up,
pattern,
Muffin.
they would all work there.
Go back
So
up a second.
How far back up?
Right there, right
Yeah.
there. Not too far. Bottom left picture.
yeah,
Right there.
The
Yeah,
folded.
there's the RW pattern, and then the A pattern. Yeah,
I like
I
it.
love that. I
Yeah.
know that you said you weren't happy with it, but to me, that looks like that turned out like a color inverted Tropentarn, and I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. The it looks good in that light. It looks good in my apartment. It looks good in some light dynamics, but there's a lot of, and I think it's part of the silicone silicone permeation and the UV coating that they put on it. But
Kind of
between that
darkened
and
the brown.
between that and I think the dye they used, there's a lot more blue that comes out in certain light dynamics and things like that. And yeah, I wasn't very happy about that. But I think once I find different light values, the next time I go out to do some photos and testing and stuff, and if it's raining, even better, because it is a poncho. Um,
Right.
yeah, I'll get some. I think I'll get some good further promotional photos and things like that too. When the conditions are right for that. It's just not the right time of the year either for it. So at least here. So um, once it hits full autumn, but you can see even between. Oh, nice. You can
Sorry. I'm
no, it's
plugging.
okay.
I'm plugging modern.
Ordner's Frontier Leather. Go get your leather goods there. He makes awesome stuff.
Yeah, he does. I'm gonna do J2. I kind of like the idea of this, like this leather wood carrying bag too. It's pretty badass.
He made one of those for Sean Ryan.
Shit, I didn't know that actually.
Yep.
See, I'm retarded. There he is, hard at work.
Now's a good time to remind everyone listening to hit that like button for TMT.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
share, and
just a
sub,
nobody.
Tactical Muffin Top.
Hell yeah. Kipper Gang.
Hell yeah. Hashtag
Kipper Gang.
But if you zoom out a little bit, yeah, if you
Drop
zoom
the
out a
Frack
little
T
bit,
Instagram again.
yep,
hold
just
on.
frack T camo, FRACT
Why is
camo
it stuck there? That's not where I'm even at.
on
That's weird.
Instagram.
Because you're sharing me.
Oh, all right. You're cheating.
I'm taking over, bitch.
Yeah, if
Listen
you zoom out and you look at the A pattern poncho material print there, and you scroll down just a smidge, you see the A pattern there. The print color is very different. So that's the outcome there. It doesn't necessarily adequately translate over in the printer, but that's just by company, by printer that they're using and stuff. The RW
Right.
pattern printed out much closer to what it actually is, which I was happy with. So, but yeah, so that's just kind of some of those nuances and stuff. So it's finding the right printers, finding the right capabilities that are color correct, and things like that. So that's the process right now. It's just finding the right supplier and printer. That's literally the only thing and it's one of the hardest parts of this business. Everything else done and good to go. So it's just ready to go. But
now
yeah,
I'm pimping out Jay.
hell yeah.
I actually
know,
just got my radios from Jay, so I got to do some testing with them because it's my first dip into comms other than like a CB and smoke signals because that's pretty much all we have out here. So it's really all we need. We're all like, hey, meet up at this farm. And then like eventually we'll all get there. And if it's like 3 or 4 hours, then we go look for the guy, you know?
Okay.
That's just how it goes. So,
Right.
You're going to know all this better than I do already because this is literally your job right now. But I have heard John Willis that owns SOE talk about sourcing material, especially the last couple of years
Yeah.
with all of the supply chain logistic issues. He had said some of his vendors said, hey, does it have to be berry compliant? We've got this material. And he's like, well, what's different? And they're like, well, functionally, it's the same. Like, I think in the conversation he was talking about, particularly it was web material. It wasn't swatches of camouflage. It was just like the coyote or the black straps.
Right.
But they said it's literally the identical product. It's just this wasn't government certified to be berry compliant. Like it comes the same mill. It's the same material. It's just the formality of, you know.
Right. Certifying it. Yeah. Well, and it's yeah, and I was just talking to another textile company today that does material production and printing. They're out of Georgia. Their stuff is not very compliant, but it's comparable. I'm like, that's fine as long as it's domestic. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I'll work. I'll work with them on it. I have yet to hear back because I answered a bunch of their questions and sent them an NDA and stuff. And it's like, hey, I'm ready to go if you guys are. Um,
Awesome.
but I'm waiting to hear back, so I don't know if they're going to do it or not.
I hope
But
so, man.
I
You've
hope so too.
been putting a lot of effort into this.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time. Spent
Flying
a lot of
around,
time.
doing it on backdrops in Florida and all the way over there, and it's
Yep.
pretty crazy, dude.
Yep. A lot of environmental study. Yeah, and yeah, just having a design background and stuff too, apart from being an end user of camouflage and everything. It's like I know what to look for with color choice and those aesthetics and things like that. And if it just works. It just works
Right.
when it's the right choices.
Shitty part is you're like doing all this on top of your full time, very freaking demanding job.
Yeah, so let's
So
get into that.
yeah, what you got? You got any juicy bits for that?
So actually during the winter season, it's fairly slow. I work as a, I guess I should say, so I do a couple of things, in a
I like
applicable,
that.
professional space. I'm a senior security advisor, physical security and protective services and stuff for a couple of companies as a subcontractor. I do anything from on-site threat and vulnerability assessments to continuing to do protective services of various kinds, whether it's executive protection or um, currently I do not do any defense contracts as I have in the past. Kind of stepped away from that for a while, at least during the last administration. This administration is looking a little bit better, even though they're kind of, obviously, which is a good thing, scaling back government. Um, but and
Amen.
that's been a little bit of turmoil in the defense contract sector, but on the private client sector side, it's been great. But the winter season's a little bit slower. Not a whole lot going on. End of the year, you've got companies, client companies that are doing, year quarter and year roundups and like all that stuff, and they're figuring out appropriations, they're starting projects, whatever it is. So it's usually, as far as on the consulting and advising side, unless I'm traveling internationally, for domestic travel, a lot of that time period for that work is usually during late spring, summer, and through early fall to mid fall, and then it slows down again. Um, so that's why I juggle multiple gigs and do that. So there's a continuation right now with critical infrastructure resilience and security improvements. That's been a big thing going on with the sector. And those directives were actually put out during the Biden administration, but it's during this administration that they're really starting to finally ramp it up a bit more. And that's all on company funding, with clients. It's all on what their funding can appropriate and like all that stuff. And we usually do follow-ups with that kind of stuff every couple of years to see where the improvements have been with the ongoing long-term projects. So then it's working with while some clients are doing that, working with other clients to go do assessments or see what they need, see what services they need, see what functions they need, if they're starting projects, if we need to do assessments, whatever it is. And then on the other side of it is, okay, are there any details that are going on that you need personnel for, whether it's local, whether it's, hey, you need me to go to, we'll just say Mexico as an example, for a couple of days, what is it, and then kind of go from there. So that all depends, and that's all entirely up to the client and what their schedule is and what they're appropriating and what their availability is and like everything. So, on the other parts of that, I do graphic design actively as another job, whether it's business logos and letterheads and all that, or if I'm doing logos and album artwork for bands, or if I'm doing patches and stickers and T-shirts and whatever else for my fellow prepper, gun tube, tactical community people, or whoever, you know,
Yeah,
um, all of it,
yeah.
So
You made the Kipper gang,
yes,
which Some people have gone to say that this is the Kipper's wiener, so I didn't think that was the way we were going to go with it. People love like the color design on it and everything, and then they're like, "Oh, that Kipper has a wiener." The next chat, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
What?
So that's fun.
That is funny. Yeah, I kind of went with like kind of a grimy, fried retro kind of thing with it. I don't know, just a fun mashup, but it's
I like
it's
it.
fun.
It's good.
Yeah,
Kipper gang for life.
yeah, but yeah. So I do all that, and then I'm also a published author. Have 2 books out. They're through. You can get them on Amazon for global distribution. And that's all security sector oriented stuff as well. 2 books out there, and then we've got a couple more books coming soon as well with my partner that I author with, and he's over in the Netherlands, and we're both security industry professionals. He does a lot of search and rescue. He actually just got back from South Africa training South African wildlife rangers and stuff down there
Oh, hell yeah.
with using drones and stuff. And then we also work with a South African company, Vulcan. His company out of the Netherlands is called Emhance, EMHANCE, Responder Development. And then we have an associate down in South Africa that has a. Oh my God, why am I blanking on the name right now? It'll come to me. But he's got a South African company down there. He does promotionals. He does some training and standard stuff too. But he's helping out us with a little bit of graphic design apart from what I do for the books that are coming out soon. One of them is a baseline standards and reference guide for line unit personnel, security guards, protected security officers, shift leaders, team leaders, management, companies in general, something as a tool and resource that they can use that cuts through all the mire of fluff with all these professional organizations like ASIS and everything else that put a bunch of material out there and make it very convoluted. So we're just making just straight to the point, best practices, current updated standards, reference guide for that industry. And then we're also working. My buddy in the Netherlands and I are working on a guide for backpackers, hikers, campers, as well as for search and rescue personnel. Kind of a combination of things in that book. It'll have templates that you can fill out for terrain assessment and things like that. Your planning of a trip, all that stuff, emergency contact information, like all those things that you can then use and provide to people for emergency resource when you go out and are camping. And then other things like how to read terrain, land navigation, these are what ticks look like and what to look out for. Like all that kind of stuff will be in that book as well. So those are the 2 books that are coming soon.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I keep busy.
Freaking dude. You need to calm down. Have you rocked out lately, Metalhead?
Yeah, I got all kinds of music stuff coming soon, various projects, album releases and stuff, and then playing some shows on and off. Actually have a show at the end of this month with one of the bands that does play gigs, and we're playing at a not a festival, it's just one day, but it's a anniversary show for a local record store that's really well known and doing well. And there's some label affiliated acts and stuff that are on that show and everything. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Heck yeah, man.
Well, I have to ask because I'm sure that your inspiration drew from both your military / paramilitary background as well as your part-time job being a graphic designer. But what was your primary inspiration to ignite this project that became Frac T? Like, what made you decide you wanted to start your own camo company?
Yeah, a number of things. Being an end user, just being a bit of a nerd for camouflage, but like a lot of people, a lot of personalities and channels, and just the public in general. Our amazing community of people, and just consumers and people out there in the general public that were like, hey, we want want more options. You know, it's very hard to get a hold of Con Camo's Ghost Hood stuff here in the States. Um, you have to buy it from a couple of European retailers mainly, and it's extremely expensive. Um, you know, just things like that. Like there's all these really there are some cool camouflages out there, but they're either inaccessible or nobody makes them anymore, or people just want other options that work better for their local environments. And you know, it was a combination of that, apart from just studies that I was doing and designing that I was kind of already starting, and I was like, hey, I can do this. So
I think we got a pretty good chat question for you. I got the map pulled up here. Old Man Buttwrinkle said, "What's your recommendation for Michigan?" It looks like Frac TW and Frac TRW would probably cover a decent amount of that.
yeah, there's a couple of them. Yeah, so a couple of the patterns are seasonal, more seasonal applicable, but depending on where you are, like they'll work for your environment. But I'm in the Great Lakes region too, right on the other side of Lake Michigan. So yeah, it would be Frac TW, Frac THW, especially like if you're further north or like in the UP or whatever. And then HW if you're deep in the woods, you know, you can mix and match. If you're more in like the bluff areas near the lake or kind of in the quote unquote highland areas, the RW pattern would work great there. And then autumn season, the A pattern, and then obviously S pattern for during the wonderful white gloriousness that blankets our terrain for 9 months of the year. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's why I really like the idea of the poncho for that, because like you
yeah,
could get a poncho for each season, and then you could just
right.
pack your bag according. You know, I like that a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. I would like to work with companies that do rain ponchos and then just kind of a standard ripstop, you know, a Nyko ripstop uniform material poncho just to go over, you know.
Right.
That would be a really cool use and concept for applicability for that. And when I did the DIY snow pattern camouflage poncho a couple of years back on my channel, like that was kind of the inception of the S pattern anyway. Um, that was like the initial prototype basically for it, kind of throwing some Easter eggs out there, but like nobody knew it at the time. It was just like, hey, here's a DIY version of DIY thing you can do to make an effective snow camo for in the woods. Um, so there's kind of back to the point. There's multiple patterns that are good for the region up here as well as many other parts of the country and then around the globe. So they're all meant to be specific to certain terrain types, but also they have cross compatibility, which is a big selling point as well. So
Hell yeah, man. Any other chat questions? Gen X Gemini said, "Here in Indiana, just make corn, leaf, and soybeans pattern." Nice.
the standard W pattern, the A pattern, yeah, same with for like Nebraska and stuff. I mean, Indiana, Ohio, you know, on the south end of the Great Lakes there. Beautiful country, and you do have a variety of terrain types. Like you get a little further east in Indiana, you start getting into highlands. You know, closer to the bottom end of Lake Michigan, you get a little bit of highland and rock bluffs and just beautiful terrain. And whether it's that or you're more in the cornfield areas and the woods because you got tree break, woodland patches,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. You know, it's hey, you can see in these patterns which ones are going to work. You know, the PS plains and scrub may work for in the cornfield, but then you get into the tree lines and stuff. You know, the W pattern for so maybe mix and match a little
Or maybe you have one poncho to cover you, and then you have your shirt and pants, you know, and a difference,
exactly,
so you can switch it up, you know, according. It's pretty badass.
exactly, exactly. You know, W or A pattern, and then the S pattern poncho for over during the snow. Like, yeah, that would work perfectly. Um,
Yeah, I know, old man butt wrinkles. My camo pattern would be corn and snow. Like that's what I get, you know. It's all right.
yeah, Southern Indiana is beautiful. I agree, Gemini. It's I love this country. You have such a wide range of terrain types. You have beautiful landscapes, really wherever you go. I mean, it whether it's
What's
whether it's
up,
the
Justin B?
yeah, whether it's the Cascades, the Black Hills, the Rockies, foothills of Texas, into the forest and the river delta areas, the dense Northwood forests, Adirondacks, Appalachia. It doesn't matter. Like there are
I
beautiful
tell you
areas
what,
all
we
over the.
got two guys in the chat that just rolled in. Justin B will get with you later on, but
Okay.
that's a private thing.
Okay.
But we got Metal, 10-man Metal,
Hell yeah.
and he is. I got him in contact with you. I believe you guys
Yep.
chatted it up.
Yep.
So he is on the adventure to make some gear and looking for some sick camo. So I'm gonna see if I can have him on real quick.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah. We've been emailing back and forth, and it's awesome. You know,
oh yeah,
I'm really glad, and it's becoming a resoundingly prevalent thing for this entire community. A lot of dudes are starting businesses, and that's a good thing. You know, or they have had a business for say a couple of years now.
right.
Either way, that's fantastic. I
Now
love seeing.
listen here, I better get a discount at both y'all's stores for hooking you up. Just saying.
Oh, we'll throw you a bone. Yeah,
That's funny. Uh, so hell yeah, man. It is awesome that everybody's working together. I'm glad to hear you talking about working with Fatty Westside too. I'm going to have him on one of these days. We do.
yeah.
We actually, it's kind of fallen off the rails a little bit, but we were doing a big boy like weight loss, keeping everybody accountable chat and signal for the fat boys. And me and Missouri and Double XL dude and Twin Arrow Survivor. We were all like cataloging our food, and Modern got on there and made us all feel super fat. But he's skinny, you know. So it's really good that like the communities like that work together. So
Absolutely, absolutely. It's awesome because like seeing everyone either or seeing a lot of people, either starting a business or um again
suck tech money.
that have had a business say for just a couple of years or whatever. Like that shows growth. That shows what prosperity can be. As far as the quote unquote American dream goes.
Right. Well, not only that, that's just the prepping community seeing a gap that's not being filled and saying, "Fuck
Yep.
it, we're going to do it ourselves."
Absolutely, 100%,
So
million
I'm
percent.
really cool with that.
Yeah.
It's badass, dude. I like it. We got a good group of dudes. And what sucks is like all these channels like should all be, have humongous channels, but because it is YouTube, like you could just get glossed over because you're like, oh, this guy has under 2,000 subs, or
Yeah.
like fucking Muffin Top has under 1,000 subs. Who even wants to go in his chat? I got DJ over here. Let me look at DJ real quick. DJ the Metalhead Mercenary. He's currently at freaking almost 2K subs, just under freaking
Close.
1.8, and he's chilling on Muffin Top stream. Thank you, by the way, for that.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big channel, and I just like my channel. I just throw whatever the hell I want up. I don't pigeonhole myself. It's spice of life.
Yeah, I hear you. But it's good that people aren't stuck up douchebags. Or like Modern was on mine, and that was when Modern he was a lot smaller then. He had like 10,000 at the time. He's like at 12 now or some shit, or 15. He's getting way up there.
That's awesome.
But heck yeah, man, it's good that the communities can cross
that
stream.
Florida camo in my life.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Hell yeah.
Before this devolves.
Wait a minute.
Dude,
Why does it
don't-
have to devolve?
Because we're about to get Florida, man.
Oh boy. Okay, fair enough.
Praise hail, praise hail.
So as far as delineating comparisons to other existing patterns, you don't really have one that's exactly interchangeable with MC.
I mean, not really, but I mean, multicam will marry pretty well with like the standard W or woodland pattern. It would
Right.
actually work with a few of them if there's going to be a little bit of color differentiation, but at the same time that can break up profile, which is not a bad thing, obviously. So, I mean, yeah, you could roll with it with a number of the patterns and be all right. If multicam works for your area, to what degree you want to incorporate it as a secondary or whatever, or a primary, and then frac T gear on top of it or whatever, like, yeah, it's going to work pretty well for you.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking that if you'll scroll back up, the Florida is probably a little lighter.
Right here.
Like
Yeah.
Left.
like back up to the graph for everybody.
Oh, right.
the Fracti Florida is
Well,
kind of
I've been
more.
having a hard time in Florida because of the different. Florida's just it's a really hard niche depending on where you're at.
Right.
It can go from swamp to, not swamp real quick for no reason.
Right.
Hence why I was saying would be dope to have like just camis on and then a poncho to change on the on the fly.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I dig
Yeah.
that. No,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah, I would really like to see not just rain ponchos, but just a camouflage pattern poncho in a uniform ripstop material for that purpose. Because
Carry on, I'm being summoned.
yeah, that would work really, really well for a lot of people, and just be a quick way to change and all that. So yeah,
I like that you made your portions. I don't know what the correct term would be. Your P dots, your flectarn pattern,
yep,
not so small. Like
yep,
you said, you don't have the ACU problem where it turns into just a uniform shade at a
right.
distance.
Exactly, and that's a big problem with traditional Flecktarn and Dutch NFP and some of those. So I took the American perspective with that, and with my patterns, I scaled them up larger. So some of the mock-ups you see on the website here, they're not quite to scale, um, but it's just for marketing purposes, just so you kind of see what they look like. But yeah, the actual print, like if you go back up and look at the poncho and stuff, the print is larger. And that's intentional for that scaling to help break up profile at distance better, as much as how well it blends with the right color choice and just the pattern randomization as it is, closer up and things like that. Yeah, that was a very conscious choice on my part to make sure that it was scaled properly, so that you don't have that blob out, quote unquote blob out, that you see with smaller scale patterns. Um, there's only a couple that I've found that are smaller scale that really do contribute to effect of blending, because the color choice is proper, it is more adequate apart from the design of the pattern. And that would be Pencott and then Con Camo's Ghost Hood are the two best of those examples. Everything else is kind of eh. Um, Although I think it's, what is it, Liechtenstein's, maybe one of those small European countries. Their pattern's pretty good too. Um, and it's different. It's not just multicam or whatever. Um, as far as a more like European tarn or P dot style kind of goes. So I kind of, yeah, I did a heavy fusion of influences from both sides of the pond with the patterns in that respect.
What's up, Savage Airguns? Yeah,
Any
sorry, the boy
aspiration?
was being naughty.
Any aspirations of like a
So we
jigsaw
did a
pattern?
step. So the Florida Man camo is live.
No, he's still trying to find a company to print mass material.
Yep. Yep. That's the biggest hurdle right now, is that I've done some test print with a couple of the other patterns, but the company that I went to for that Sil Poly poncho material, their design tool and uploader on their website only allows a 60 megabyte image, which is small. So
Right.
mine are high resolution and they're larger scale. So yeah, if they could fix that issue, I would be able to print with them at least in a couple of material types. But
Oh.
but
Hey, you ready to expand your camo line? Gen X Gemini said another camo pattern could be Meth Lab. Old man Butt Wrinkle said, "Isn't that just West Virginia?" I like that.
That's funny.
I like that a lot. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I really like this format where I can just scroll and leave the cursor on some of your product for a while. This is working like super good
Yeah,
for like a good background.
thank you. Yeah, I'm glad the website design is compatible both for like PC and mobile and tablet and all that. So
Yeah, it works super good for a lazy streamer like myself. I do not have time to put together something as fabulous. But yeah, man, it'd be cool like if you could get like, and if you guys have suggestions or somebody you're working through like Metal, I know you were working through some people or whatever. If you guys have companies that think would take would bite, hook up with DJ and see if we can get something rolling, because I want a freaking sling pack in one of these camos, man. That'd be badass.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, packs would be cool. Packs and rocks, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Savage Air Guns said War Digital and Marines. Yeah, Marpat Desert's actually not a terrible pattern. My D Desert pattern, a little bit of inspiration from that, but again, scaling's different, and I have more colors in mine and things like that.
Yeah, I
But
like
yeah.
Marpat. Nobody seems to like it. Of course, I also don't mind ACU and just rattle can it because I'm
But yeah, most
track
places
D
dirt,
right here.
yeah, dirt is dirt, absolutely, and that's why the W pattern is brown dominant. In more shades of brown than what you see with multicam and things like that. Because dirt is dirt, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I wore straight coyote brown, overseas contracting stuff. I mean, our kit was all coyote. And it's
What's
fine
up,
for the
Missouri?
desert. In the woods, it's okay, but again, you have that issue whether it's a small scale pattern, a small scaling of pattern, or with solid color, whether it's OD or coyote or whatever. You're gonna silhouette, you're gonna profile more. That's the only thing. But you can throw rattle can on it. You can vary it up. Do whatever. I am a big proponent for DIYing something to make it work best for your environment.
I don't know if that's accurate, Old Man Butt Wrinkles, but I'm not going to read that one. We're going to let that one lie. Jesus. Yep, you're right, Lawfully. It might start devolving. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, most of mine honestly is just coyote, or like I'll do ranger green and then hit some spray paint coyote on top because it just blends most of my environment.
Yeah,
So
and that's fine. Somebody, one of you guys had a question, and I think it got kind of cut off a little bit there ago. I don't know if you remember what it was or not.
I missed it. I don't know. I lost myself in that comment.
It was one of the guys talking. It wasn't. It didn't quite get the full question out. So
Go for it, Justin B. It's your time to shine, baby.
No, the only thing I was asking about, because I remember seeing this particular screen a little while back, and I was just wondering if the Florida Man was live yet.
Oh, gotcha.
So
yeah.
I collaborated with Bug Out Bushido on the FL pattern, and he's in Florida still currently, and he's starting a gear company himself, and we're really trying to figure out a right sourcer for material. I mean, if there's a Florida company out there that does print, and it's funny because I did actually on Instagram, I tagged DeSantis and the Florida State Guard, their insular, thing. I tagged them both, and I'm like, hey, you guys want your own pattern? Let's talk. But I didn't hear anything from them obviously yet. Probably never will. But if there's
I'm gonna get with t.m.t offline, and
I know what you got going.
Yeah, about a little bit of stuff. So
yeah, hell yeah.
Hang in there. There's hope. We'll put it. We'll leave it at, there's hope. There's some hope.
For sure. I'm excited.
I have another guy whose idea just somebody else that I can reach out to as well to try to get some things printed, because they deal with. I use them for some really high megapixel printing. It's not on material. It's for printing some other stuff, but
sure.
They might be able to point us in the right direction as like a Florida-based company.
Hell yeah. Love to hear it.
And they treat me really well, so.
Yeah, Muffin's got contacts. I might be useless, but I know people that know stuff. That's good. No, that's just about as good, right?
Well, yeah, I've got contacts at a couple of other companies, to include Shop Fabrics at Camo Fabric Depot, and they're down there in I think Ohio. They can't do it right now. They can't work with me right now just because they and big props to them, because they said they just can't invest the time into me right now, which I respect that. That's I appreciate that kind of candor and honesty with it. And it's like, no, that's fair. later on down the line, let's talk. Because I mean, they're very solid people over there too. So maybe eventually at some point, Camo Fabric Depot will have my stuff, just like they do some of the other big name patterns out there. So
Yeah,
but
they just can't quite do anything with you until you get to a certain size.
oh no, it's just on their end as far as that goes. Just
Okay.
just I think just with the workload that they have and everything and logistics as they are right now, I think that's what they were inferring. Um, and that's fine. I understand it's a very tumultuous time right now to yeah,
Right.
especially for the textile industry and tariffs and everything going on globally with the market. It's
Tin Man,
not easy for
be careful over there, buddy.
some companies, apart from just what they're doing for appropriation and contract that they have to fulfill presently right now as it is. So that's completely understandable.
Yeah, everything going on in textile right now is pretty volatile.
Yep,
I can imagine with everything that's going on.
very much so. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about your camo, several times, not not having you on. So just so you know, we do talk about you. So if your ears are getting red,
I appreciate it. I
yeah,
appreciate the.
I know trying to link up with everybody. I currently am working with 9 other channels right now, trying to lock down a time to do a chat, and it's just it's just crazy for everybody. It's like my busy season. I'm trying to get remodels and shit done, and garden and shit. I'm getting chickens. I think I'm ordering them this week, so my chickens should be here next week.
Sure. It's definitely the start of for that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's the start of the busy season for sure.
Yep. So, I mean, it is what it is. We're all busy. It's cool that like we said earlier, that people are trying to work together and stuff. So that's badass. San Francisco camo is rainbows and poop. Yeah, mostly poop, which goes with the browns. So if you just do frac TD, you're good.
Have you even hit up some of the big hunting companies and seen about maybe licensing with them?
Yeah, you get Sitka or something. That'd be dope.
Well, that's the thing. They all have their own camouflages, so they do their licensing. With the mills and the printers and everything too. So kind of the same thing. They don't them Mossy Oak. Like all those. Like they don't take on other brands patterns besides like if they do their own production and have their own retail outlet and stuff, platform or whatever. Like they don't do that. They license. And my company is the same model, with the licensing and everything, just like Multicam is or Cryptech or whatever, as well as the hunting camo companies and stuff. They license with the they either license with the mills and the printers to put yardage out there, which is one way to do it, or they're licensing with the companies that do manufacturing and then retail, whether it's through a big box store like Cabela's or whatever, and their logistics, which a lot of that's overseas too.
It's not a threat. It's a promise.
That's
funny.
But they're doing the licensing with the gear companies and everything. Any gear company that's making gear with their camo patterns, they have to license with them, whether it's hunting apparel or otherwise. So that's how that works. It's not going to the camo or the hunting camo brand companies. It's going to the producers and the retailers and stuff. So any other direction, if it's not to the direct textile pipeline side, and then working with textile yardage distributors like Rocky Woods Fabrics or Camo Fabric Depot, which is owned by Shot Fabrics, or Canvas ETC, which is part of Canwill Textiles out of Georgia, or any of those. And then the other ones on the other side of it with the textile stuff, if they're GS suppliers, to the military, the contractors to the military, that's companies like Stitchco in, was it Alabama or Arkansas, and then a number of other companies in Puerto Rico and around the U.S. and other places that just do stuff for GS suppliers, or they just do GS supply for the DoD or other government agencies or whatever, or they do generic print and production, and then that product is then provided to retailers, with retailers putting their branding on it to sell. company, one of the companies that does that is Rain. I think it's Rain Tactical. Like they make generic pattern gear, and then with the various patterns or whatever, and then if it's contracted, branded, production and stuff, they then put the branding of the company that's going to be retailing it on there. It's like all those nuances with textile production and everything. So there's a couple of different ways, like two main ways to go about with licensing and stuff, and then after that, it's this labyrinth of different, this giant spiderweb and labyrinth of different companies that do generic contract production or direct license contract production or whatever, so.
Well, I just pushed you out. Just forwarded your information to a guy I know at Safari Land, so we'll see.
Oh, sweet. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I said earlier, I'm trying to get a hold of the dudes over at ADM, American Defense Manufacturing. They make rifles and stuff. They're local to me, and also they're Cerakoter that puts awesome patterns on their products. Like you can buy their forends that are Cerakoted and like all that stuff. Trying to talk with their Cerakoter to see if maybe they want to partner to put my patterns on that stuff too.
Hit up PSA. They said they're hitting all kinds of shit with camo. They crank out a lot. Yeah, have you seen like their saber daggers and shit?
I haven't really looked at them all that much. No. I knew they just dropped the new, basically M110 SAS clone, kind of clone. It's not quite direct clone, but
yeah, I kind of like that thing.
Rifle clone. Yeah, I was looking at that. I love the SAS. Fantastic platform. I was like, ooh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to them. I don't know who their Ceracoders are, so I'll have to figure that out. Hopefully it's domestic.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If you could get them with PSA, like just their volume alone, dude, Jesus.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, would not mind it. That would be big ups for potential exposure there. So.
Heck yeah, man. Well, chat, you have any other questions for DJ? I wanted to kind of pick his brain on some current events here, with the tariffs and the failed Russian thing. We did like 4 things on Sunday. So the India-Pakistan still seems to be at a standstill from what I've last heard. I haven't heard a whole lot on Russia-Ukraine other than Ukraine hit them with some shit. Haven't heard any big retaliatory strike there. The markets are sounding pretty decent with the China trade talks. What's your take? What are you seeing in your sector that you can divulge to help the prepping community out in their focus on their preps and whatnot?
So I guess we can start with the economics since we're kind of rolling over from talking about all this textile stuff and everything. But yeah, Trump was saying that trade deal, lower tariffs between U.S. and China, which, okay, that's, I guess it's a good thing because it's going to keep costs down, but at the same time, that's incentivizing continuing to use foreign production of lower quality instead of U.S. production. So it's it's a double-edged sword. It's been like that with tariffs in some other places, to include Mexico too. Mexico hasn't quite outright said it, but I guess the talks are on the table to allow U.S. military joint operations into Mexico to combat the cartels, which that's a good thing. Yeah, India, Pakistan. I mean, it's just the Kashmir has always been kind of a hot area anyway, with kind of somewhat regular attacks.
Right. Tin Man's saying check these guys out, these dynamic defense guys.
Well, it's kind of a geographic or territorial peninsula.
Yeah, the Kashmir is, yeah. And I mean, the same could be said for the China side with the territorial disputes with India, but it's not nearly as kinetic with, rocket attacks, Carl Gustav's, small arms fire and all that, artillery. They're just brawling it out, literally fisticuffs over on that border. But the Kashmir, yeah, I mean, it's always been dynamic and hot like that. But yeah, with the recent events, and Pakistan doesn't seem to want to back down, which further escalation or further like substantial kinetic actions may happen. I mean, it's hard to tell. Pakistan's a little more unpredictable than India is, but India, they could go and do something too. They've already they've recently shown that they're willing to do that. So with
Right.
that,
I was a little shocked. I do believe it was a storage facility for some nuclear material, correct, or old missiles or whatever it may be that they hit. And I was like, "Geez, that was kind of freaking ballsy for 2 weeks in."
yeah, it was a storage facility. Yeah, older stuff and mostly like Scuds and Sams and things like that. Uh, oh my god,
I don't
yeah,
want that shit being popped.
the
Just saying.
Russian MLRS. Why am I brain farting out right now?
Well, older stuff or not, that location, I believe, if I heard correctly, still represents about a quarter of their stuff of that nature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. It's substantial stores, and then the airbase strikes too. I mean, major logistical strikes on Islamabad airport, but then also both Pakistani and Indian, hitting each other's military air bases. I mean, that's a big dent and effect to what their capabilities are in the air. Yeah, so there's that. Other things, I mean, general major conflicts ongoing. Obviously, we're seeing what's happening. The Russians broke the ceasefire first, but they're getting back to tit for tat again with that already.
Would you have hopped on that plane if you were Putin? My answer is no.
No, probably not. Probably not. Have another Prigozhin situation.
Right. Be like, if I'm going to go there, I'll fly my own shit. Thank you.
Right. So, but I mean, hopefully talks hopefully the talks, move forward and are promising, because yeah, it's just a bad situation overall.
Right. Anything you'd recommend to anybody, especially since you get kind of an inside track on this, like what you're stacking, what you're doing? I am trying to get more physically fit and cut weight due to I'm trying to fight having back surgery right now. So
Oof.
yeah, so I'm doing a lot more stretches and stuff like that. Reducing calorie diet again. There's some days, sometimes partial weeks where I can't really go walk a whole lot. So it's all
Right.
diet then, right? So
Right. I mean, I stay pretty active as is. Really, it's just, I mean, I train fairly regularly. More training, more better. But, it's just whatever's feasible time and money wise. As far as that, just monitoring things, because I can honestly say that myself and for the majority of my group of people, as far as a mag or anything goes, like, we're all squared away. We all keep very busy and very active, and have preps and contingencies upon contingencies in order. For me, it's just monitoring things, what's going on. There have been, lately there have been alerts, be like, hey, stay vigilant, be on the lookout. They're
hold on, Justin B, tell that bitch they're in the wrong lane. Just kidding. You're passing in the right lane, man. What's happening right now?
I must be next to the mill. I must be next to the army base. Jeez.
Sorry, that's funny.
But I mean, there's been bolos and alerts that have gone out lately. Be like, hey, pay attention when you're in when you're in densely populated areas and places of gathering, and whether it's grocery stores, your place of worship, arenas, concert venues, main foot traffic thoroughfare streets. Whether it's Bourbon Street or whatever. We've seen incidents happen in recent times, and those risks and alerts are still ongoing for both organized entities that may be planning attacks, but also just because of the nature of how batshit crazy people are nowadays,
Right.
and the risk of attack from lone actors as
You've
well.
heard or read the book The Day of Wrath, correct?
Maybe
I have an audio series
I
on it.
don't believe so.
It's in my audiobook section of my Discord. I have a bunch of books there. They're free.
Oh yeah, yeah. You brought that up a little while back. Last time
Yeah,
we talked. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a 20-year-old plan, and then that kid from Osama bin Laden, whatever the hell, was kind of trying to fast track that.
yeah,
It's basically a micro hit in every single state, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Coordinated attacks, and that's what Daesh or ISIS, whatever you want to call
yeah.
them.
That's that super big video of Sean Ryan's that blew up with
Yep,
that gal, right?
yep,
Same
yep.
thing.
Sarah Adams, yeah, Intel specialist. I mean, it when Intel people are being that candid and whatnot, you should pay attention.
Yeah, that's
Um,
my main training at the moment.
yeah,
That's the biggest thing besides like natural disaster I prep for.
that's good. Also, Forward Observer, Mike Shelby. He's a
Mm-hmm.
really good channel to watch.
I agree.
Obviously, S2 Underground. Um, there's a couple of those out there that are giving good information, and there are some relatively decent OSINT channels like on Twitter and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them you want to take for a grain of salt, but sometimes good information comes out. But other than that, it's just getting into a good information flow pipeline with looking at various entities and stuff, even on LinkedIn. You'd be surprised how much information is being shared on LinkedIn from intelligence and security companies and analysts and whatnot. Like, there's a large, substantial information flow coming through that platform for professionals. But if you're following those people or certain companies or whatever, information gets put out. They also put out weekly briefs and a number of things. There's also a website called, it's another good information tool called Critical Threats at criticalthreats.org. Check that one out. That one mainly focuses on the Middle East, but they put in a fair good bit of information out
Okay.
to pay attention to. There's also, oh God, what's the other one? No, not that one. Global Conflict Tracker, Council on Foreign Relations, CFR.org. That one can lean a little bit more biased with some of their reporting, but when it comes to their conflict tracker map and things like that, it's good information.
Heck yeah.
So those are a couple that I would recommend for people wanting more of an intelligence and information stream. Again,
Yeah.
there's a few good ones on Twitter. You really have to take a lot of them with a grain of salt, though.
Right. Always research, where you're getting your info. But like
Yeah.
if you're an older person in your mag or you think you're not as useful, you can do intel gathering like this and you can become Google for when the internet goes down,
Absolutely. And then locally for yourself, human intelligence. Get out and talk to people.
I agree.
Gas station clerks. If you're kind of having in with the local sheriff or cop, that's good.
Yep.
But yeah, gas
Neighborhood
station.
watch, you can do that.
Yeah.
Community garden, sports teams. There's a lot of ways that you can network in your own community.
Yeah. At the bar, American Legion post, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Like, human intelligence is still the bread and butter in a lot of ways for any information flow and intelligence flow, at least on a local scale. If you have, like myself and other professionals do, if you have that connection to a global network of professionals and individuals that are assets that can give you, on-site human intelligence, real time or relatively real time, from the ground in various other regions and stuff, like that's still some of the best information. The secondhand information, apart from some of those organizations like Critical Threats and Council on Foreign Relations and stuff that I threw out there that have, again, a real-time pool of assets, So they have updated reporting, global conflict trackers, all that stuff to pay attention to. Those are really good tools, and again, really good things to follow. But yeah, that's the bread and butter still. And the private sector gets human intelligence faster than the government does most of the time, or they're contributing to what information the government has. Up to 80% of actionable information and intelligence that the government gets that isn't from their people, but from the private sector, 80% of it's from the private sector. So up to 80% is from the private sector. You have a lot of contractors working for various intelligence agencies. You have a lot of contractors working for Department of Defense, apart from those government personnel or Homeland Security as well. The information coming from those private sector partners and contractors and stuff are just as valuable as or contributing directly to the information stream that the government has that they disseminate to the public as well. Other things,
I agree.
Yeah. Other things, honestly, there's a lot of free information that the government does give out. And again, some of that's partnered with private entities or stuff. But like, a lot of people hate FEMA, but guess what? FEMA website, you can get a lot of good free information on there. Disaster response stuff, dealing with emergencies. They put a lot of information out there on that. How to decontaminate? FEMA has a big thing on that, So I think I've talked about that before, but like,
yeah, take advantage of the free stuff. Like, if you can get a CPR class or like a freaking defibrillator class or something like that, or even just a CCW course for like church or something, if you're on the security team there, take it. Why not? It's free, or most of the time it's free.
Yeah, American Red Cross. Yeah, American Red Cross. They have Stop the Bleed and stuff. Like a lot of that's free.
Talk to your hospitals. There's a lot of infant CPR training courses and things like that as well, free.
Yep. Same with fire departments. Yep.
Yeah, in Florida, before you leave the hospital, with your newborn, they do all all the stages of choking and CPR and everything, and it's kind of a mandatory thing.
Good.
And the Red Cross is always doing free stuff if you get out there and look for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Heck
American Heart Association. Some of their BLS basic lifesaver courses are free, or just a nominal fee of like, I don't know, $15-$20.
Right. While we're saying it, this is Stop the Bleed month. Lawfully has it right here on the head. Get your medical squared away. Maybe go take a free class. Dedicate, a day this month. Is that much time to really? No, not really. It can better yourself and anybody in your group that goes with you. And then you can come back and teach the ones that couldn't go.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then support our homies. Jay, Prepared Citizens. Whoever else is offering training out there, Direct Contact Medical Solutions out of Minnesota. That's a buddy of mine. He's a veteran, and he was in Ukraine for a while. Came back. You got
big one, Refuge Medical. He's not a buddy of anybody that I'm aware, but he does good stuff.
And there's a lot of good.
Victorious Dead said, "Give me the frack tea." Nice.
Soon, hopefully soon.
We're working on it.
We are working on it.
Hit up DJ with anybody that wants to produce some of his camo, because he has some killer patterns, man.
Yeah, if they want a license, the inquiry, the licensing inquiry contact on the website there. If you have recommendations for digital textile printing companies in the United States to hit up, you can DM the Frack T Instagram, or you can send a message again through that contact form. Whatever it is, or leave a comment on one of my videos on my YouTube channel, whatever.
Get it to my Discord, something. We will get it to DJ. Yep. We will work. We'll work it out.
Yeah, we'll work the comms pipeline. Absolutely.
Yep. I'm excited. I want you to take off, because I want to buy some of the shit for me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I want to get it to the people. They have very loudly voiced their desire to have more options on the market, and that is what I'm trying to do. So got to make it work.
Heck yeah, man.
Failure ain't an option for me.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna fail. It's just Yeah, I think the domestic part's going to make it a little bit more expensive, but that at the end of the day, it's better for the country anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
B, it's going to come out the quality you want, not like Temu quality shit, and you're like, I don't want to sell this crap because I don't even want to use it, you know.
Well, and that's the thing, because some of the printers that I'm looking at, some of the textile printers that I'm looking at, I mean, the prices aren't that bad per yard. You're looking at, with printed material, probably about for the gear makers and the uniform makers and all that, they're looking at about somewhere between 11 and 18 bucks a yard, which is not that bad. Considering it takes under a yard of material to make, whatever X product or whatever, uniforms, obviously it takes a little bit more, or whatever. But I mean, it's not too, the cost offsets aren't too bad still, which is good. Um, and with creating more commerce, more options on the market, more commerce and stuff, I mean, that's going to do nothing but help the overall chain of economics and the logistics and everything. It's supporting everyone. So, that's a good thing when there's more active distribution, wanted product, and everything, that supply and demand. The demand has been voiced, so now it's okay, get the supply and go from there. So
Heck yeah, I agree. Well, guys, I'm think we're gonna have to bail. The little kid is being a menace to mom, so think we're gonna have to cut this one short. I do think we covered a very good range of details here, and got to know DJ a little bit more. And for first time viewers, DJ is a friend of Muffin Top. He's a good dude. He made this,
hell yeah,
the hashtag Kipper Gang,
Kipper
and
gang.
we birthed the Kipper Gang saying with DJ because we liked our canned fish.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Which, in your honor, I need to do a Kipper video soon. I have been remiss by not doing that yet.
Oh man, we need your dedicated palate on what you stock. But if you pick Polar like Lawfully, we can't be friends.
I love Polar.
I know, it's my
God.
least favorite
Oh,
Kipper.
God.
You muffin man.
I like, dude. I'm telling you, the dollar store Beach Cliff is better than Polar. Just saying. Don't even play.
I'll happily stock it all. If it's good,
Yeah.
I'll stock it all.
Right? Yeah. King Oscar is the king for a reason. All right, y'all, deuces. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit up DJ the Metalhead Mercenary with any questions, any leads on some manufacturers for his camo, stuff like that. He's a good dude. I want to thank everybody on the panel. I think we had a fun chat, and a lot of good information was passed around. I appreciate it.
You have a license to think?
No, no, I don't.
I appreciate you having me on, man. And I know I talked a lot, so I apologize for that. But
no, you're good, man.
Yeah,
it's cool. You don't get to do as many videos as I do, and sometimes we just end up sitting around here talking about wieners. So it's refreshing here and there.
I'm in the right place.
Right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Deuces.
Later.